Okay, welcome. Like I said, my name is Ryan Holger. I'm with the National Excelsior Company as well as Temperature Equipment Corporation. We are sister companies, and I head up all the training for both of those divisions. Excelsior, we do a webinar every month, usually at this time on Mondays. And this topic this month is utility incentive programs for HVAC efficiency. We're going to talk about multiple states, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, a little bit of Michigan. We can even touch on Kansas City and some of those other areas that Excelsior services if you guys are doing business in those areas. Most of what we're going to talk about is going to be in the Chicago area because that's where all of the changes happened last month. Programs in Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, and other states in the area have not changed since about January other than some minor tweaks. But all the Illinois programs had some pretty big changes as of June 1st. So we're going to summarize most of those for you guys here today. So it's kind of our main goal. All right, if you have any questions as we go, just type them in the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'll try to answer them as they come up. Let me go ahead and open that up so I can see anything you guys type in. All right, we're first going to do residential type topics, and then we're going to split over and do the commercial stuff. All right, some of the stuff at the beginning here, you guys have probably seen me my propaganda before in other training classes or webinars. But as a country, we're basically energy pigs. I think everybody kind of realizes that for the past decade or so, we've all been kind of trending towards improving energy efficiency, and the utilities are on board with that now as well. So we're going to talk quite a bit about that. Depending on whose studies you look at, the building industry, meaning both residential homes and commercial buildings, uses anywhere between, say, 28 and 40% of the total energy for the entire country. Total energy means all sources. So we're talking about oil, gas, hydro, solar, wind, everything combined together. And we're comparing those buildings versus manufacturing industry versus transportation. So it is a big chunk of the pie. Approximately, we'll say on average, a third of the energy for the whole country gets used in buildings. And then if you look over at the right-hand side, that tells you how it gets used in buildings. So approximately a quarter of it, let's see if we can use this little spotlighter thing. Maybe we can't use that little spotlighter thing. Okay. Approximately a quarter of it is used for space heating. About 15% or so is for cooling. 4 or 5% for ventilation. 10% for water heating. 5% for refrigeration. Basically, half of the energy we use is related to the HVACR industry. The rest of it goes towards lighting, electronics, and miscellaneous things that are difficult to quantify individually. If we look just at residential for a moment, that's what you see up on your screen right now. Space heating, and this is based on 2012 U.S. data. Space heating, 44%, cooling, 9%, water heating, 17%. So a big chunk of that is stuff we can affect in our industry. And here in the Midwest, this is national data I'm showing you, so here in the Midwest, we're even a little more slanted towards the heating side. Probably about 50% of your energy at your house is used towards heating. So there's lots of things we're doing as a country to improve that energy efficiency of individual homes and buildings. One of those things is on the code side of the equation. So here in front of you, you see a summary of the various codes that we have used in the United States for residential energy efficiency. I'll show you commercial in about a half an hour or so. As you can see, in Illinois, we are on the 2012 International Energy Conservation Code, so we're on the far right side of this chart where my mouse is at over there. Other states that some of you guys are from, Indiana, Wisconsin, and so forth, you are using codes that are approximately similar to the 2006 version of the International Energy Conservation Code. But you can see what's happening here. Codes were pretty flat for many years, and then now, every 3 years, they increase in their stringency every 3 years. So again, in 2015, we'll have yet a new code, and it'll be more efficient than our current code. And 3 years after that, and 3 years after that, 3 years after that, always getting more and more efficient, meaning using less and less energy. So if you look at the energy we're using in 1992 versus what we're using now on a new building or newly remodeled building, it's about 50% of what it was. And the goal is to keep knocking that down until we get down to, theoretically, net zero energy. And kind of the timeline for that is 2030 is kind of the unofficial goal for that. But that's what you're seeing happening on the code side of the equation. So if you're not familiar with what's going on with the codes, pay attention to that. If you're in Illinois, specifically pay attention because we have a new energy code as of January 1st. and you want to get up to speed on that if you're not already. So codes are one way that we improve the efficiency. Another way is through appliance standards. Appliance standards are generally regulated by the Department of Energy, and they're usually done on a national scale, although occasionally, once, there's been an effort to do it regionally, which is the new furnace efficiency standards, which are supposed to go live in May, but they are now on a hold due to legal reasons. But generally speaking, it would be done throughout the whole country the same exact way. So the next one of the big changes to happen would be April 2015 for water heaters. This affects both gas and electric water heaters. And as you can see, for gas-fired water heaters below 55 gallons, the minimum efficiency required would be a 0.675, which is basically what an Energy Star water heater is today. So basically, Energy Star becomes the legal minimum. If it is a larger system, above 55 gallons, it would have to have an energy factor of 0.8, which is very near a condensing type product. Electric, similar thing. Below 55 gallons, the current technology is pretty much there already. But above 55 gallons, you have to have an energy factor of 2.057 as a minimum. As you probably know, an energy factor of approximately 1 is basically 100% efficient. So we're saying we have to be 200% efficient, which basically means you have to use heat pump technology, something where you're not burning a fuel to make heat. You're just using a fuel to move heat from one place to another. So expect that to come down the pipe in about a year and a half. You'll see big changes on the water heater side. There's lots of other things that are under scrutiny and current plans being drafted by the Department of Energy and or various associations in conjunction with the Department of Energy. So some of those things that you're going to start seeing changes on, furnaces when they finally happen, unit heaters, gas-fired boilers just had a change last September, but another 4 years or so or whatever it's going to be, you're going to see another boost in the minimum boiler efficiency, furnace fans. There's all kinds of categories that are getting picked on, if you will. So there's a bunch of changes happening there. So then the next place that you're going to see changes happening, or have been already, so we improve the codes, we improve the appliance efficiency standards, and then the other way we do it is with the reward type system. One of those type of rewards is a federal tax credit. As you probably already know, the federal tax credit this past January for energy efficiency, residentially speaking, was revived, and it is retroactive to through 2012, and it's good for 2 years, 2012 and 2013. And it's very similar to the credit we used to have. You can get 10% back up to a maximum of $500. There's a couple things caveated on that. One, you can only use it on your main house. You cannot use it on a vacation home or a rental home or something like that. It does not apply for new construction. Only for existing properties can you do this on. Here are the targets that you have to hit in order to get the money, and it's divided up. You can't just get $500 on one thing. There's maximums based on the type of product. So central air conditioning can only get $300. Same with heat pumps. Same with water heaters. Boilers and furnaces max out at $150, and there's $50 for advanced main circulating fans, which could be, and in most cases are, part of your furnace. So really you can get $200 for a furnace. And these are the bogeys that you have to hit. So the main ones that you guys would normally pay attention to for split system central AC, it have to be 16 SEER and 13 EER. It has to be both. It's not an either or. It's both you have to hit. For boilers and furnaces, you have to be 95% AFUE. You can also get incentives for other things like air sealing and insulation and windows and all kinds of energy improvement stuff. It's 10% of the cost of those things. For air sealing and insulation, which are mostly labor-based solutions, you only get 10% of the cost of the materials. You do not get it on the labor. So to get the maximum 500, you're doing 10% at a time on just the materials involved with air sealing, it'd be a lot of caulk. So you're probably not going to use it for that. You're probably going to use it for HVAC or windows or something like that. And by the way, it's also $500 lifetime. So if someone got the credit 2 or 3 years ago on a different property or whatever, they are not eligible to get it again on this new property that they live at. It's $500 maximum for their life. So if they got it previously, that big $1,500 one previously, that was a one-time shot. You can't do it again. Why am I not clicking through here? Oh, there we go. There are other federal tax credits related to energy efficiency. These ones do not expire at the end of the year like the furnace, boiler, and AC type stuff does. These ones do not expire until 2016. And they are good for both existing and new construction, and they're good for principal, main houses, as well as second houses, vacation homes and so forth. And the ones that relate to HVAC primarily are geothermal heat pump systems and solar thermal water heating systems. There's other stuff there too for other renewable type things, but those are the two that mainly relate to HVAC. It's 30% of the cost with no cap at all. So if you put in a $100,000 geo system at your house, you would get $30,000 tax credit on that. All right, so that kind of summarizes all those. What we're going to dive into now is the utility programs. This is what most of us are probably talking to consumers about on a day-to-day basis because it's pretty much applicable to almost everybody's situation. So the way the utility programs work, and it doesn't matter which utility or which state you're in. I'm showing you Nicor here because I'm a Nicor customer, and that's a copy of one of my bills from last year. But if you look at any of your gas bills or electric bills, residentially or commercially, in pretty much any state at this point, in the Midwest at least, you're going to find somewhere on there an energy efficiency related program charge, where they're basically charging everybody that's a customer of theirs to pay into a system to fund a big pot of money, and then people that do energy efficiency improvements and apply for a rebate get the money back out. So you can see this was actually this was a year and a half ago, this bill that I scanned in, but I paid that month $1.81 into the system, and every month I'm paying X amount of dollars into the system based on how many therms I use, or in the case of my electric bill, based on how much kilowatt hours I use. Everybody pays into that commercially and residentially. There are very, very, very few exceptions, people that don't pay into it. Like literally like a dozen in the whole state of Illinois have exceptions, so it's pretty minor. So everybody's paying into it, so make sure you tell your customers that, hey, you're paying into this program. Show them on their bill, hey, this is right here where you're paying in, how you get your money back out. Well, there's different ways you can get your money back out, and these are common programs that the utilities run to incentivize you to save energy. There's two reasons why they have these programs. One is they're basically required by state law in most of the states in the Midwest. The utilities of a certain size have to run these programs. And then two, generally speaking, the utilities, while they want to continue for you to buy power from them, obviously, they don't want people to buy so much power that they actually have to increase the size of the infrastructure grid, because that's a very large capital cost for them. So they want to kind of maximize the grid without having to pay a lot of money to expand it. So they're kind of involved in it from two standpoints. But the main reason is state legislation. So the way you get your money back out on rebates, the most common way is to just have a contractor install something at your house or your building and make an improvement that saves energy. So this can be things like a new furnace, it could be insulation, something like that you'd be doing. Generally speaking, any contractor can do that work, and then the contractor can apply for the rebate on behalf of the consumer, or the consumer can apply for it themselves directly. There are different categories that we kind of usually talk about, and it's generally residential, commercial, and industrial are the main categories that we talk about. And really, it's kind of residential, and then commercial, industrial is one thing divided into two sections: prescriptive and custom. So prescriptive basically means it's a standard list of things. There's 30 things on the list or whatever it is. You pick from those things. Oh, a new 500,000 BTU boiler gets me this much. Great. I'm going to do that. It's got to be this efficient. Okay, fine. Whereas custom would mean that there's no program for it. You basically go to the utility and say, I'm going to make this improvement. This is how much energy it's going to save. They multiply that energy savings based on a dollar per kilowatt hour or dollar per therm rate that they're currently offering, and that's how you determine what your rebate's going to be. We'll talk more about those in a couple minutes here. So things that typically happen are those type of things: equipment installs, tune-ups, commercial systems, things like that, lighting retrofits, and so forth. Another way that they typically do it is direct install programs, which you'll hear the utility companies refer to as DI programs. These are usually targeted at specific business segments, primarily multifamily, condo type buildings, or small businesses, kind of markets that don't really fit well with their other programs. They do these kind of things on. And usually what that means is the utility employees or their subcontractor comes in and installs really low-hanging fruit type stuff: CFL light bulbs, maybe some thermostats, shower heads, aerators on the sink, or something like that. It generally does not involve more detailed work than that, although occasionally some utilities do have programs where they install boilers and things like that. But usually it's these fairly simple items. Another form of way that they do things is through various versions of what I'm going to call energy audits. They call them assessments, audits, surveys. There's all kinds of ways that they do it. Some of them are very detailed. Some of them are not very detailed. They're just cursory. But there's some kind of audit where they'll come in for free or for a very low cost. Usually, like for a residence, it's like 99 bucks, sometimes 49 bucks, sometimes 150, depending on the utility, which is way cheaper than the normal 500 bucks you'd pay to have it done. And they come into your house or your commercial building and do an audit, do a walkthrough, look for all the stuff that's easy for you to do, give you a list of what it is, tell you how much energy it's going to save you, and then help you find ways to implement it. And then they'll also give you a list of things that are a little bit more harder to do, for once you get past the easy stuff kind of thing. And then another one of the ways that they do it is through Anvil Financing programs. This is generally offered through residential situations. There's some utilities that do commercial things through like PACE financing, but usually it's residential Anvil Financing, where someone can finance, say, a new furnace on their utility bill. Amir says he's having difficulty with me losing sound. Is anybody else having that particular difficulty? If you are having a problem with me losing sound, let me know. I'm going to type the same thing in on the chat box here, in case you guys can't hear me, because obviously you wouldn't be able to respond. All right, I'm assuming everybody can still kind of hear me, so if not, type something in and let me know, and I'll see if I can find a way to fix it here. All right, so we're going to look at the utilities kind of one by one, starting with residential, and then we'll look at them one by one again on the commercial side of the equation. If you're in the Chicagoland area, this is kind of a map showing you what utilities are in the area. Generally speaking, most of the suburbs are Nicor, and the city is Peoples Gas. And then there's an exception to that, which is up on the North Shore, where North Shore Gas exists, which is owned by the same parent company as Peoples Gas. So usually those programs are operated together as one program. So City of Chicago and then the eastern half of Lake County, Illinois, generally operate as one program, and the rest of the northern half of the state operates as Nicor. When you get up into Wisconsin, it's a statewide program called Focus on Energy, so everybody in the state is pretty much doing the same thing. In Indiana, it's statewide for electric, but each individual gas utility is doing their own thing. Michigan, it's pretty much statewide. Missouri, Kansas, they're pretty much doing their own thing individually. So for Nicor, here's the stuff that's primarily changed from last year to this year. This year for Illinois starts on June 1st each year. Every year the program ends on May 31st. Each June 1st the program restarts. That's true of all 5 major utilities in the state of Illinois. The other states in this area do it on January 1st. So the first thing is residentially, you don't have to provide detailed cost invoices anymore. One large bulk invoice with a single price on it is now acceptable, whereas last year it was not. The application is a little bit shorter, got rid of some redundancies on there, make it a little bit easier to kind of navigate through. The rebates for boilers, indirect tanks attached to boilers, programmable thermostats, and hot water pipe installation did not change at all. The water heater rebates decreased from $300 down to $100, which is what they used to be a couple years ago. The $300 was inflated with being supplemented by some marketing dollars to kind of make it, kind of a kickoff thing to get it going. But now it's back down to its normal dollar amount. Furnaces changed a little bit depending on which efficiency furnace we're talking about. 92% furnaces remain at $200. 95% furnaces increase up to $300, and 97% furnaces decrease down to $400. So now it goes 92, 95, 97 for $200, $300, and $400 rebates. There are still combined system rebates available with ComEd and Nicor jointly. I'll show you those in a second. And there's also some bundled rebates where you take the furnace, the AC, water heater, thermostat, and things like that, and add them all together for an even larger dollar amount than if you would have got them a la carte. So there's the furnaces, 92, 95, 97% AFUE, $2, $3, and $400 rebates to the consumer. By the way, you can do multiple furnaces in the same home. That question comes up a lot. If somebody's got 2 or 3 furnaces, they can get the rebate 2 or 3 times. There's no problem with that if they have multiple furnaces in the same house. Boilers, there's 2 tiers, 90 and 95%, that correspond to a rebate of $350 or $450. You're going to see the 92, 95, 97 furnace and the 90, 95 boiler on pretty much every utility program in almost every Midwestern state. They all have the same efficiency tiers, although the dollar amounts do change, and occasionally some of the rules change on what kind of controls and things you have to have added onto the boiler or furnace for that matter. For example, here on the NICOR program, this only applies to small boilers less than 300 MBH, which covers almost everybody's normal size house. And you have to have integrated outside air reset controls as part of that, or you got to lock the boiler to not ever operate higher than 140. There are rebates, like I said, for storage water heaters. They are now $100 for a 0.67 energy factor water heater, which is an Energy Star water heater. And then if you add an indirect storage tank to a high-efficiency boiler, that is a $100 rebate. Programmable stats remain $20. That pretty much covers any programmable stat. It used to require Energy Star programmable stats, but since Energy Star no longer has a stat program, it's pretty much any programmable stat now. And then the key, obviously, is that you need to program it to actually save the energy. You can also add hot water pipe insulation onto a water heater. You can insulate the first 6 feet of that hot water pipe. It's $10. You cannot do that as a standalone thing. You have to be doing it in conjunction with something else, and pretty much anything else, water heater, furnace, programmable stat, whatever. There are no rebates at NICOR for instantaneous water heaters. Only storage tank style water heaters have rebates. That's the current program. And it's not because those things don't save energy. It's because they do not meet the cost effectiveness formula that's required for these things, because they are fairly high first cost type products. So if you get a furnace and combine it with a central AC system, there are different rebates available to you to increase the dollar amount. So 92, 95, 97% furnaces, instead of just getting the $200, $300, and $400, if you add a 14.5 SEER air conditioner to any one of those, it becomes $700, $800, or $900. If you add a 16 SEER air conditioner to any one of those three efficiency furnaces, they would become $800, $900, and $1,000 rebates. So you can get a higher rebate by adding a more efficient air conditioner onto a furnace install. The air conditioner rebates are not available as a standalone thing. They can only be done in conjunction with a furnace rebate. So you've got to be buying a new furnace in order to get a rebate on a new air conditioner. That is because ComEd does not have a program that is standalone. They basically tack their program onto the NICOR program, and they're using the NICOR folks to process it. So ComEd does not have any way to process it without the NICOR furnace being on that thing. And by the way, heat pumps are not eligible for any rebates pretty much anywhere in the northern half of Illinois through any utility, because obviously heat pumps could save you some energy, but it's going to switch your fuel from gas to electric, and that's going to change who's willing to pay the rebate to you. So as of right now, no heat pump rebates. If you have a heat pump, you are automatically negated from getting the furnace or the AC rebate. You can get neither one. And then NICOR has the value packages, which are basically the furnace and the AC that I had just mentioned, plus you tack on a water heater to that, a high-efficiency Energy Star water heater, along with that 6 foot of pipe insulation and the programmable stat. So you can do that in various combinations, as you can see on the screen. But for the top tier one, the 97% furnace, 16 SEER air conditioner, 0.67 Energy Star water heater, 6 feet of hot water pipe insulation, and a programmable thermostat will get you a $1,300 rebate. So that is not, the most commonly used rebate that consumers do, but it's the highest dollar amount one residentially. So most HVAC contractors have been advertising the up to $1,300 type rebate, and then some folks end up doing all of those things, all 5 of those things at once. Other folks choose to do something less than that, and that's fine, but for advertising purposes, a lot of times you'll see up to $1,300. So that's the kind of the prescriptive rebates on the residential side. Let me see if there's any questions at the moment. There are not any at the moment, so I'm going to keep on talking. There is a home energy savings program that NICOR offers. This program is run for them by a group called CSG. CSG will come out and do a low-cost energy audit for the homeowner. I believe the current price is still $99. They do this audit for the homeowner, and they also, at the same time they're doing the audit and looking and seeing what people have and writing their report, etc., they also do some free installation items of CFL light bulbs, aerators, shower heads, things like that, and pipe insulation, programmable thermostats, and so forth. If you have this audit done and get some of those free install items, many times those recommended audits are going to tell you, well, you should seal your attic, seal your building envelope, seal your ductwork, add insulation in the attic, those kind of things. And if that's part of what's being audited and told that you need to do, they will also offer you some additional rebates up to $1,750 more to help get some of that stuff done. So that's kind of where that goes. I know some of you guys ask about those other services like envelope sealing and duct sealing and things like that. So there is rebates for that, but that cannot be done by any contractor. You have to be part of the CSG subcontractor group if you want to do that work for them, and you have to be BPI certified. So whereas the furnace, boiler type rebates, you can just do them as a contractor. Any contractor can do them and apply for the rebate. These particular ones I'm showing you on this one screen, you have to be kind of a contractor member in order to offer it, which is why I have Amy's contact info down at the bottom of the screen in case you want to join that program. All right, let's see, any other NICOR questions? Okay, looks like we're doing good. All right, so Peoples and North Shore Gas. I'm just going to include these at the same time. They're two different gas utilities, but they're owned by the same parent company. And as of right now, this year, finally, all the programs line up exactly where all the efficiencies and dollar amounts are the same. So it's basically one rebate program for either utility. So here's the stuff that they've just recently added as of June 1st. They just added duct sealing for the first time. It's up to $500. It's a performance-based spec. I'll show you that in a second. And any contractor, unlike NICOR, any contractor can do it in the Peoples and North Shore program. They just added a new furnace tier for the first time. Previously, the highest one was 95%. Now there's a new one for 97%, where you can get up to $600 rebate. They added steam boilers onto the program. They added some combination boiler domestic hot water heater units, where it's one appliance that does both. And they've added boiler and furnace tune-ups, which is a $50 rebate. It's kind of like a test pilot thing to kind of see how it goes, to see if contractors actually are willing to do it. They've had these kind of tune-ups on the commercial side for a few years, but this is the first time trying to do it residentially. So one thing to keep in mind with that is you have to obviously tune up the piece of equipment and clean it and so forth, but you also need to do a combustion analytics on it. So that means you have to own and know how to use a combustion analyzer, which most contractors do, but everyone doesn't necessarily have that type of tool. It is fairly expensive. And another thing that is new this year is the bonus rebate coupon. So what you can do is you can, as a homeowner, use the Jumpstart program, which is the residential direct install program, where they come in once again and install aerators and low flow shower heads and light bulbs and stuff like that. If you do that program and they install those great things for you and give you a little report telling you all this other stuff you need to do or could do, they are also going to hand you a coupon for $250 bonus rebate, which is good for 1 month. So any rebate that you do after that with a contractor, like, hey, oh, we should get a new furnace? Great, honey, let's get a new furnace. We get the furnace rebate, say, for example, a 97% furnace for $600, plus you can do the $250 bonus, so really you get $850 rebate on that furnace. So if you do the Jumpstart program, get the coupon, and then do the improvements first. They really beefed up the multifamily program. All of the utilities in Illinois, meaning NICOR, Peoples, North Shore, and ComEd, and probably Ameren, but I don't know that one for sure. I'm just guessing on that one. The other four, they've all beefed up the multifamily program because they've gotten some additional pools of money from other sources to really focus on small businesses, multifamily, and these kind of things. So keep that in mind. There is a new website that's going to launch supposedly in September here. It's listed down on the bottom of this page. So right now you have to go to the regular Peoples and North Shore websites and then kind of navigate your way around. But there should be a new website here shortly that you can use to track your rebates and stuff online. So the specific rebates on the residential side for both Peoples and North Shore Gas. That combination boiler slash water heater that I mentioned, tankless, $800. Two boilers, 90% AFUE and 95 for $600 and $700 respectively. If you add boiler reset controls onto an existing boiler, it's a $200 rebate. 97%, 95%, and 92% AFUE furnaces are $600, $500, and $200 rebates. And then if you add a 14.5 SEER air conditioner to any one of those three efficiency furnaces, then the rebates would become $1,000, $900, and $600 for 97, 95, and 92% furnaces with a 14.5 SEER central air conditioner. Once again, no heat pumps allowed on any of these rebates, and there is no 16 SEER ComEd rebate available through Peoples and North Shore. So for Peoples and North Shore customers, the ComEd rebate is 14.5 SEER. For NICOR customers, the ComEd rebate is 14.5 SEER or 16 SEER for two different dollar amounts. I can't get anyone to explain to me why it is that way this year, whereas in the past it's not been like that, but that's kind of the situation that we're in. And they also added steam boilers on there as kind of a new offering residentially. Additional residential rebates, there's the furnace and boiler tune-up, $50 like I mentioned. They do have tankless water heaters on this program, unlike Nicor. It's 0.8 energy factor for $150. Indirect water heaters attached to a boiler, $150. A traditional storage water heater, Energy Star rated, $50. Programmable stat, $50, which is one of the highest programmable stat rebates residentially that's available. Pipe insulation, depending on what you're putting it on, it's either $4, $3, $2, or $1 per foot for steam, steam condensate, hydronic hot water heat, or domestic hot water. The new duct sealing rebate, it's a maximum of $500, but the rebate is actually paid at a rate of $3 per CFM reduction. And this is measured before and after you seal the ductwork. You measure it with a duct blaster with a typical standard PPI type duct blasting standard, which should be testing it at 25 pascals of pressure. You can do positive or negative. They don't care either way. But then every CFM of leakage you reduce at 25 pascals will earn you $3, up to a maximum of 500. By the way, as you can see by the 3 stars there, in order to be able to offer that, you have to be listed on the Illinois Code Diagnostics Duct Leakage Tester site, which means you have to either be DET certified, BPI certified, ResNet, or one of those similar things that the state program recognizes. So if you don't know much about that, go to IllinoisCodeDiagnostics.org and check that out to see what you have to do to get listed. Usually it's a one-day class with a hands-on certification exam. There's also attic insulation on this program. It's 30 cents per square foot of attic insulation. You can only do it on if the existing insulation is less than R19. If it's better than that, then you're not eligible for this rebate. So I guess you got to walk around and stomp it down to make it thin, and then you can do it. No, I'm just kidding. But you have to be part of the Illinois Home Performance Contracting Network, which is the one that's run by MIA, in order to be able to offer that. These two networks, there's no cost for those really. It's just kind of a verification type thing. The other type of rebate that we do for the gas utilities in Illinois is Anvil Financing. This is available for Peoples Gas and North Shore Gas customers, but it's only available for furnaces. It is not available for any of the other measures like boilers and water heaters at the present time, just furnaces. And basically, you can offer the consumer a low-interest loan, which is 4.99% for 3, 5, or 10 years, their choice. They put no money down, and there's no cost for the contractor to participate. So unlike other financing programs, the contractor is not buying down the rate from 15% down to this 5%. The utility is buying it down on behalf of the contractor. So the contractor has no costs, although the contractor does have to enroll in the program. There's no cost to do it. It's just some paperwork to basically verify that you're a valid business and a valid contractor. So that's just on furnaces that consumers can do that. It's a really good deal. On the ComEd side, you can also finance your central air conditioner that way. Same exact kind of program as the Peoples North Shore Gas, run by AFC first, just like the other one. So it's all the same folks. In fact, you can do one application. The consumer can do one application for both the furnace and the AC. If someone is in the Nicor territory, they do not have this program currently. However, those people are probably still a ComEd customer, and they can do the ComEd AC on their utility bill. And what you can do as well is you can pad that number. So say it's a $10,000 install for furnace and AC. You could put $9,000 of it on the air conditioner and finance that on your utility bill, and then put $1,000 on the furnace and use that as the consumer's down payment or something like that. ComEd and AFC First are both okay with you doing that. There's some caveats to how you have to do it. So if you have questions about that, let me know, and I will talk to you about it, or I'll have Bob from AFC First call you and explain to you how you have to do it. It's a little bit tricky, but once you do one, it's pretty easy. So that's kind of how that works. And if you happen to be downstate in Ameren territory, they do the similar thing. If you want to finance something that's not a furnace and AC, like you want to do a boiler or insulation project or something like that, there are other energy efficiency lower interest loans that are available. Basically, I'm just going to refer you to check out the energyimpactillinois.org website. So check that website out down at the bottom of this page, and it'll kind of show you some of the loans that are available through those various type of programs for home improvement. Plus, the AFC First guys have a pretty decent program they do as well. All right, for those of you guys over a little bit further east on the border there in the Indiana territory, Nipsco Gas Rebates. I'm going to go through these ones kind of quick because they did not change in June like the Illinois ones did. So this is kind of just a summary here. But once again, for boilers, same tiers, 90 and 95%. In this case, it's $300 and $450 for Nipsco customers. If you have a gas furnace, 95% AFUE with an ECM motor, and you are a customer of Nipsco for both gas and electric, it's $250. Otherwise, it's just $200 if you're just a gas customer. 92% efficient furnaces, $150. Programmable thermostats, $20. They did remove the water heating program on the first of the year, so there's no longer any water heating rebates residentially from Nipsco. On the electric side, if you're a Nipsco electric customer, central AC, there's one tier now. It's 15 SEER. If you're putting a 15 SEER in combination with a 95% AFUE ECM furnace, you get an additional $200. So if I go back one screen, you put in a 95% ECM, variable speed type furnace, it's $250 plus the 15 SEER air conditioner is $200 for a total of $450. Is how that would work. There are heat pumps on this program. Unlike Illinois, Indiana is allowing that to happen. Obviously, Nipsco is both the gas and electric company, so they don't really care so much which fuel you buy from them. So they do have heat pumps on their program. There is only one tier now. It is 15 SEER on the cooling side. On the heating side, the product needs to be 8.2 HSPF, heating seasonal performance factor. There are rebates for ductless heat pumps. There are two tiers. There's one tier if you are putting in a ductless heat pump system in place of electric resistance heat, and there's another tier if you're putting it in place of another heat pump. So it's $500 if you're replacing electric heat. It's $300 if you're replacing an old heat pump. There are electric heat pump water heaters for $300. You got to be 2.0 energy factor, which is pretty normal for a heat pump water heater. Storage water heater eliminated from the program. Electric and gas, both versions, are both eliminated. So the only water heaters left in the Nipsco gas or electric territory are related to heat pumps specifically. Variable speed motor retrofit. If you put a ECM motor on an existing furnace, you do earn a $200 rebate for that if you're a Nipsco electric customer. And programmable stat is $20. Nipsco also did, as of January, launch a home performance type rebate setup tier, if you will. Setup tier probably doesn't make sense. Rebates, if you will. There are three things you can do on that. You can add attic insulation for 40% of the cost of it, up to $450. And you have to be a program approved contractor to do that, which basically means you need to be BPI certified or something similar and illustrate that to the utility. You could also do wall insulation in the existing wall cavities, also at $450. You can do both of these things, attic and wall, for a total of $900. And you can see there what you have to do. You got to be coming out of going from a wall that's less than R5 and improving it to R13 or better. In the attic, it has to be less than R8, and you got to be improving it to R38 or better. Both of those require a program-approved contractor. Duct sealing, you basically are going to get 100% of the cost up to $400 maximum. So most duct sealing costs more than $400, so it's basically a $400 rebate to seal the duct system. It says here it's got to be done by a program-approved contractor. However, that is not actually the case. There are no specific requirements for the contractor on the duct sealing program. Any competent contractor can do it, but there's no licensing type thing required. I don't know if we have anybody from Michigan on this particular call. If you do, these are the rebates. Real quick, programmable stat, $40 residentially. One boiler option, which is kind of unique compared to all the other states in the area, 92% for $1,000. It's a nice rebate. Furnaces, two tiers, 94, 95% for $100 or $400. Furnace tune-ups, $100. There's programs for air sealing and insulation, water heaters, instantaneous water heaters, electric, heat pump water heaters. 15 SEER is a tier for air conditioners and heat pumps. And there's also, uniquely for this utility, geothermal heat pump systems on this program. So almost all the utilities in Michigan are doing the same program jointly, and the website for all the utilities is efficiencyunited.com. If you're up the border the other way in Wisconsin, it's a well-established rebate program in Wisconsin. It's statewide. The program is called Focus on Energy. The website is focusonenergy.com. These are some typical rebates. Like I said, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin did not change their rebates on June 1st like Illinois did, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on all of these. But similar kind of tiers. You're looking for 90 and 95% AFUE furnaces in this case. They have to have ECM motors to get the rebate because it is a gas and electric program both. And if you add an AC onto it, so if you do 95% AFE furnace with an ECM motor and a 16-series air conditioner, the total rebate would be $400. If you do a heat pump, it's $300 on there. Boilers 90 and 95% for $300 and $400. Indirect heaters $100. Tankless $100. Storage water heaters, Energy Star $50. Condensing water heaters, which is fairly unique for the Midwest to have that on the rebate program, it's $100. It's got to be 90%, which makes sense. If it's condensing, it's pretty much 90%. Electric water heaters 0.93, which is pretty easy to hit with electric water heater, but it's only $25. Heat pump water heaters $300. If you remember, heat pump water heaters are coming down, as mandatory in a year and a half anyway. So, by the way, with most of these rebate programs, once something becomes mandatory by law, either code or by DOE rule, then it's not going to be on the rebate program anymore because they're paying you to do better than the minimum. The minimum is what you got to do anyway. If you happen to be in Milwaukee specifically, you are eligible for those Focus on Energy rebates. Plus, there's a program called ME2. I'm not going to go through that now because I don't know if we got any Milwaukee guys on this call, but just check out the website, smartenergypays.com. Check that out for your customers that are in Milwaukee. There's both a residential and commercial version of that where you can get rebates above and beyond what just the Focus program would have done by itself. Let me just check this question box real quick and see if I got anybody here. No new questions, so we're doing good. Okay. I don't think anybody on the call is from Missouri, so I'm going to skip those. If you are, you can watch this recorded and then pause this page, I guess. But similar kind of rebates, furnaces, boilers, thermostats, water heaters. That's Missouri specifically, Missouri Gas, which is in the Kansas City area. Kansas City Power does have programs, but only for their Missouri customers. Kansas City Power has no programs in the state of Kansas. So it's a little bit interesting how that kind of breaks down, but that shows you why state laws is pushing this and not just the utilities themselves. And by the way, all these pages I'm showing you, the websites are down at the bottom, so kcplsave.com will be the website to read all the details on those. There's tons of other programs also available, home performance with Energy Star, new construction. There's specific programs for low-income housing, lighting rebates. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm just showing you stuff that directly applies to what an HVAC contractor would be doing on a normal, everyday replacement basis. All right, so that takes us to the commercial stuff. And looking by the names on the attendance list and the company listing, most of you guys are residential, so not a ton of commercial guys on here, but I'm going to go through it anyway just so you can kind of see. Similar drill on the commercial side, blah, blah, blah. We use a lot of energy, right? Energy codes have also been strictly improving here. We're also trying to get down to net zero energy by the year 2030, or some states are trying to do it by 2050. Illinois, by the way, is ahead of the curve with these states. We've automatically set up our state law to adopt the International Energy Conservation Code every 3 years, whereas previously we had to vote it in every time. Now, our representatives and senators had to do it at the state level. Now we automatically adopt it in. So every 3 years you're going to see an improvement in the codes, a sharp improvement. So keep an eye out for that. There are commercial tax incentives available. It is not a tax credit. It's a tax deduction in this case. And it doesn't really apply very well to a replacement project because basically you have to save 50% energy over the old ASHRAE 90.1 2001 standard. And by the way, the 2001 standard is about 40% more efficient now with the 2010 standard. So basically, if you get the building up to code today, you're almost there. But you got to get the whole building up to code, not just one boiler or something like that. The whole entire building. So basically, this involves energy modeling, and you get 60 cents per square foot for the building envelope, 60 cents for HVAC, and 60 cents for lighting, for a total of $1.80 per square foot to improve the efficiency on the whole building. So really, it applies to rehab projects, not really a replacement of a single piece of equipment. And this does expire at the end of this year. If you want more info on it, I got the website down on the bottom there, or you can just Google 179D tax incentive or something like that, and you should get the details pop up for it. There is another federal tax incentive available. This one's a tax credit, not a deduction like the last one I showed you. It's a tax credit, so it comes right off of your, your bill owed. It is 10% of the cost of a geothermal system is available to you as a commercial entity that pays taxes. If you do not pay taxes, such as a library or school, you are allowed to assign that credit to the designer or installer of your system, so architect, engineer, contractor, something like that, assuming they have a tax liability. There's also some accelerated depreciation incentives that are available for that. If you're going to do a solar project, which would include solar thermal, which is an HVAC type project, it's actually similar to this, but it's 30% of the cost of the system. So if the system costs you, keeping the number simple, $100,000 to put a solar thermal water heating system in, you would get a $30,000 tax credit back from the federal government, assuming you actually owed $30,000 in taxes. So that jumps us over to the utilities. The utility programs are very similar commercially as they are residentially in terms of the prescriptive, standard type rebates, and then there also are custom rebates, which I will show you separately here. So here's the stuff that's changed for the NICOR side. Pretty much things are the same. Boilers are the same, infrared heaters, water heaters, unit heaters, controls, and pipe insulation, no changes to it. No change to the custom program either. The things that have changed are furnaces used commercially have increased. $300 for 92%, $400 for 95%. They've eliminated the boilers for pool and spa heating. You can still do them as a custom rebate, but they're no longer a prescriptive list. And then the same thing with steam boilers. They're eliminated from the program as well. You can do them custom if you want and can actually show energy savings. There are some other minor changes to the steam trap programs and stuff like that, boiler tune-up programs. So you'll see those when I pop them up here in a minute. And then the other thing that's newly added for NICOR, as well as the other utilities, Peoples and North Shore Gas, is now they've all added CO2 sensors as a prescriptive rebate. The rebate is 50 cents per square foot, and in the case of NICOR, it's up to a maximum of $2,000. So if you have 1,000 square feet, 1,000 times 50 cents would be a $500 rebate, right? If you have 10,000 square feet, it would be a $5,000 rebate, but you're capped at 2,000, so it would be $2,000. Plus, there is actually a ComEd electric rebate for CO2 sensors, and you can put one CO2 sensor in and double dip and get the rebate from both utilities. That is permissible. All right, so looking at all the stuff listed at one time, there is a section for non-condensing boilers, or near condensing, if you want to call them that. They got to be 85% efficient. I don't know that makes a ton of sense. I mean, either you're going to put in low efficiency, entry-level 80%ers, or you're going to go with the full Monty and put in something that's 92 or 94%. So if you put in something that's condensing, that's above 90%, there's your tiers down here in the middle. So say, for example, you put in a 1 million BTU boiler, your rebate would be $5,000. You put in a 500,000 BTU boiler, it's $2,500. There are rebates for furnaces, as I mentioned earlier, if you use them commercially. Condensing unit heaters, $2.50 per MBH. Infrared heaters, which have grown tremendously in popularity recently, in the past several years, they are $700 per heater for putting those in. They're very commonly used in loading docks and warehouses and things of that nature. They do have to be used indoors. I know some folks use them for like beer gardens and patios. They're not going to give you a rebate to heat the outdoors. It's only for indoor use. So it's got to be something inside the building. Other commercial rebates that are prescriptively listed with NICOR: boiler controls, it's 50 cents per MBH up to a maximum of $1,500. This is basically adding outside air reset controls to an existing boiler. You can do boiler tune-ups. It's also paid per MBH, either 40 or 50 cents, depending on whether it's space heating or manufacturing process that you're using the boiler for. Pipe insulation, based on how much you put in per foot, whether the pipe is located indoor or outdoors. Other specialty systems like ozone laundry. There's the demand control ventilation, 50 cents per square foot, up to the maximum of 2,000. $50 for a programmable thermostat to put it on, say, a small rooftop or something like that. Commercial steam traps. This is a huge rebate for the NICOR program, and right now the steam trap related rebates are double what they should be. They're offering them higher because this is a very exciting technology to them in order to get a lot of therms for a very low cost. So basically the rebate for space heating is $100 per trap, and then some of the industrial rebates for higher pressures are either $400 or $500 per trap. They do also offer a rebate for doing a steam trap survey. So you basically have to have a company or even yourself, I suppose, come out and do a survey of all the traps in the building to see which ones have failed, and then you have to fix a certain percentage of those the first year, and you're eligible for X dollars per trap surveyed plus X dollars per trap fixed or replaced. So it's a pretty good deal And the idea there is that you don't know if something's broken until you go investigate it. There are rebates for water heaters. This is not a very exciting commercial rebate because most buildings don't use regular water heaters like this. If you have a decent amount of domestic water heating, you're probably doing it with a boiler plant and some storage tanks, so this rebate doesn't really apply to you. If you're doing that, like a condo building or a hotel or something or a hospital, you're going to be applying for a rebate as a custom incentive, not this $200 deal here. So custom looks like this for NICOR. There are two tiers. The one you're usually going to be looking to use custom on is the big tier, which is 7,500 therms saved per year or more, and they will give you $1 per therm saved. So you basically calculate how much energy you're going to save. They verify it with their calculations just to make sure that you're not overpromising the customer, and then they actually see how much you saved, and they give you X amount of dollars per therm. In this case, $1 per therm for every therm you saved the first year. This is applicable to stuff that's not on the prescriptive program. So that would be, I don't know, an energy recovery ventilator, a burner retrofit, a heat reclaim chiller, right, where you're reclaiming waste heat off the condenser side of the chiller. Heat you're going to throw away anyway to the cooling tower, reclaim that energy and use it to heat domestic water for laundry or something like that. Any of that kind of stuff could go custom, and you can get basically $1 per therm up to $500,000 per year. On the Peoples and North Shore side, the stuff that's changed on that commercial program is the programmable thermostat rebate went up to $50, so that's nice. That's good for small rooftops and things like that. The water heater rebate is now based on size of the water heater, so now it's $2 per MBH. That's only up to 399,000 BTUs. Above that, you would still be doing the custom type program for water heating. They added that same 97% tier for furnaces, just like they did on the res side. It's $500 commercially, $600 residentially. They added demand control ventilation, just like NICOR. It is also 50 cents per square foot. The only difference between NICOR and the Peoples North Shore gas program is that Peoples North Shore does not have a cap on it. Well, they have a cap on it, but it's $500,000. And if you can buy $500,000 of CO2 sensors for one building, God bless you. So no cap, or $500,000 cap for Peoples North Shore on CO2 sensors, $2,000 cap on NICOR. Additionally, Peoples in North Shore are doing demand control ventilation rebates for parking garages. If the parking garage is heated, you can get a rebate by adding CO2 sensors or NO2, depending on your application. CO, carbon monoxide, is for gas vehicles, whereas NO2 is for diesel vehicles. That is also 50 cents per square foot. And they're also offering demand control ventilation on kitchen exhaust hood systems at $350 per horsepower of the exhaust fan. It seems kind of weird that they'd be doing that, but really the idea there is the less you exhaust out, the less makeup air you need, and less heat you need for the makeup air. So that's where the gas saving comes in. So if you put in a DCV system for a kitchen, you're getting a rebate from ComEd on the exhaust fan energy, if you will, and you're getting a rebate from Peoples North Shore on the makeup energy on the gas side. There's also rebates for steam boilers that are new, condensate insulation, burner controls, things like that. The other thing that's weird is that the custom rebate is now a tiered thing. I'll explain that in a little bit. So here's all the North Shore commercial rebates that are available. I'm not going to go read through every single one of them, but there's a whole entire program for repairing and replacing steam traps. There's also a survey program, just like NICOR had. So basically you get $10 for each trap that you survey, and then anywhere from $60 to $200 for each trap you repair or replace, depending on the pressure of the system. There's the water heater boiler rebates. It's only for small boilers right now, but it's a good start anyway. Condensing unit heaters, steam boilers, outside air reset controls added on to an existing boiler, 50 cents per MBH, just like the NICOR stuff was. Boiler tune-ups, 40 cents per MBH, up to a maximum of $1,500 per boiler. Pipe insulation, anywhere from $2 to $8, depending on how hot the pipe is that you're insulating. The hotter it is, the more it can waste, so hotter pipe like steam gets a bigger rebate. Steam valve insulation. Furnaces used commercially, infrared heaters. In that case, it's $4 per MBH. So on the NICOR side, it was $700 per infrared heater. On the Peoples North Shore side, it's $4 per MBH of the burner of the infrared heater. Got gas water heaters, small and large ones on here. Indirect water heaters, tankless water heaters, programmable stats, all that demand control ventilation technology that I mentioned a little bit ago. That's all on this program. There are new rebates for boiler combustion management. You used to have to do it as a custom. Now it is a prescriptive thing, which to make it a little bit easier for folks. You can do linkageless controls. You You can put in a better burner, things like that to save efficiency on the combustion side. So down at the bottom of this page shows you how the new custom rebate program works. It used to be $1 per therm saved, just like the NICOR program is, but this year they've actually increased the dollar amounts. They doubled them to $2 per therm. So $2 for every therm you save over the first year gets you a rebate. Now, a couple other differences are that on the NICOR side, you do the calculation to figure out how much you're going to save the customer. NICOR calculates it, you kind of promise it to the customer, but then they actually pay it based on what you really save. The People's side, or North Shore side, you calculate it the same way. The gas company calculates it to say that, yeah, that's what we agree that it is. Then they actually pay you based on the calculated amount, not having to wait to see if that was really what happened. So that way, the customer doesn't have to wait to get the money as long. They can get the money sooner. But there's pretty detailed engineering calculation. The other thing that's happening here is it's $2 per therm, but it actually gets dropped down 25 cents a quarter. So $2, $1.75, $1.50, $1.25. And kind of the quarterly thing is just kind of a guesstimate. It's really kind of based more on the money side. So once the first $1.5 million is paid out, or I shouldn't even say paid out, once the $1.5 million is promised out, basically the money's been reserved for specifically identified and quantified projects. Once that happens, then it goes from $2 down to $1.75. So it may not be there on August 30th. It may be gone August 20th, for example, and it'll drop down to $1.75 on August 20th instead of waiting until September. But basically, they're paying you more to do the project now instead of waiting until the middle of the winter to do it. That's kind of the idea there. Let me check and see if there's any more questions typed in at the moment. Okay, no new questions. If you got questions, type them in the question chat box over there on the bottom right-hand side, and I'll try my best to answer them. We're going to talk about a few more items here. So on the ComEd side, excuse me, here's the stuff that's changing there. So the big stuff, chillers and VFDs, which are the most common rebates that are not lighting related on the ComEd program, those did not change at all. Everything's absolutely identical there. The things that did change, the custom maximum is now higher. You can actually get 100% rebate. So if you got a big project going that's a custom project, you can get a pretty decent rebate for that. They've had an entirely new laboratory-related incentive program with all kinds of different things on there for laboratory equipment. One of those seems to me to apply to HVAC, which is you can get a $15 for every 1,000 CFM if you put in lower pressure filters, lower pressure drop filters. So you have to read the spec on that to make sure you're complying, but that's the one that seems to relate to HVAC. The rest is all lab equipment related. There's a huge focus on the small business, just like there is for the gas companies. Like I said, there's some extra funding available for that this year that I forget what it is, but triples or quadruples the size of funding. So it's going from like, I don't even know, I'm going to guess the rough numbers, like $4 million to like $18 million worth of money that's available for small businesses. So you see a huge focus on that as the rest of the year kind of progresses with ComEd really targeting that sector. There's a new website you want to check out. The regular website is comed.com/biz with a Z incentives. But there's also now one specifically for contractors. It's comed.com/trade-ally. So check that out. Here shows you kind of a summary of the ComEd rebates. The ones in black are the ones that are basically still the same. The ones in green are the ones that change. So for chillers, and I'll show you the chillers in a little more detail in a minute, it's anywhere from $20 or $30 per ton plus a bonus. I'll show you how that works, depending on whether it's water or air-cooled, depending on how efficient it is, etc. There's room units, P-tax. I'll show you the tier levels for those. Economizers used to be $40 per ton. Now if you add an economizer to an existing rooftop unit, it's $50 a ton. By the way, it's only for existing rooftops. It's not eligible for new rooftops because new rooftops are required by energy code to have an economizer anyway. Guest room systems for hotels, there's rebates for those kind of controls. Demand control ventilation used to be 3 cents per square foot. Now it is 4 cents per square foot. So it has increased a little bit, and you can double dip it with the gas utility. So if you're getting 50 cents a square foot from the gas utility plus 4 cents for ComEd, you're really getting 54 cents for the CO2 sensors. They do have a prescriptive program for adding building automation systems. It used to be 20 cents per square foot. Now it's 35 cents per square foot. There's an entire spec on stuff you have to do related to the building automation system to be eligible for that. They've added demand control ventilation for garage systems, $300 per exhaust fan horsepower. And if you're in the People's North Shore territory, once again, you're double dipping there. You do DCV, use one sensor to control the system to get rebates on both the gas and electric side. So there's a few other ones on there. There's one on here, ECM motors on fan power boxes. I've gotten that call off several times already. And there is a rebate for it, and you can do it, and it's $50. But it's not just getting the ECM motor on the fan power box, which is available on almost any manufacturer's fan power box. You actually have to change the building automation system's control sequence to modulate the speed of the fan. That's not a normal DDC sequence. You have to come up with and create a sequence to do that. So I would be very cautious on that. Just buying a box with an ECM motor doesn't get you the rebate. You really got to control it. An ECM motor running at full speed doesn't really save any energy. You got to slow it down like a VFD to save the energy. There's a new rebate for chilled water reset controls. It's $5 per ton. Previously, to get a rebate on something like that, you either had to do it custom or you had to do it as part of the whole building automation system rebate and retrofit everything. Here you can just do the chiller plant and get $5 a ton. V-belts, cog V-belts, $5 per horsepower. That's a good deal there. So there's some of those newer rebates there in green. Looking at a couple of them in detail, this is the chiller one, and this is how it basically works. You got to decide if it's a water-cooled chiller or an air-cooled chiller. For example, if it's an air-cooled chiller, then you got to say, is it above or below 150 tons? Then they give you a target to hit, 0.6 kW per ton, for example, for a smaller chiller. They give you $30 per ton, assuming you can hit that target, plus every 0.01 kW per ton better than the 0.86 that you do, you get $350 extra. So if I put in a 0.84 kW per ton IPLV chiller, that's 0.02 better, so that's $7 bonus. So I would get a $37 rebate, right? That's kind of how that would work. The same thing applies for the water-cooled machines, but you got to decide what kind of compressor you have. Centrifugal, scroll, or reciprocating. They've decided that the screw compressor kind of fits into this helical rotary category, so the scroll/screw would be that second category. So what kind of compressor do you have? What's the tonnage? And then what's your kW per ton IPLV? And for water cool, it's $20 a ton plus $350 bonus. So if you put in something that was a screw machine that was, say, 300 tons, you got to be 0.49. If you put in one that's, we'll say 0.39, just to make the math easier, right? So that gives me a $35 bonus. So that would be a $55 per ton rebate I would get on that machine. And it would be the nominal tonnage, not the application tonnage, but the nominal tonnage is what you have to use on these. You also have to use the IPLV at the nominal tonnage rating, not your specific project rating. So that's important to note. And if you don't know what IPLV is, that's the part load efficiency. So full load efficiency is irrelevant. You get the best machine at 100% capacity in the world, and it may not get you a rebate. They care what it is at part load because that's where most of the hours are spent. Rebates for P-tax and room units. These are fairly challenging to hit with cheap products. You got to go to nice, expensive products, which end up making it cost prohibitive. But nonetheless, these rebate tiers are there. Vfd rebates, which are by far the most popular HVAC-related rebate on the ComEd program. If you put a VFD on a fan or pump, it is $60 per horsepower. Basically, for applications where you're replacing inlet guide vanes is where you're going to be using this. You can also use this on a brand new rooftop if you're doing staged air volume control. That's a newer concept that's become more popular in the past couple years, where basically you're staging the VFD speeds depending on how many stages of heating and cooling are running or ventilation mode. This does apply to that. So you can get $60 per horsepower for putting in a new rooftop in that has built-in SAV control. If you put a VFD on a compressor, a chiller compressor, it's $25 per horsepower. The energy savings is not quite as great as the fan or pump savings would be. And if you want to do it on something else, you can do it as a custom rebate. Custom rebates for ComEd, there's two flavors of this. There's a 7-cent or 6-cent per kilowatt hour rebate. It works just like the gas ones do. How much do you save over the first year? Oh, great, you saved that much. Multiply that by 7 cents, that's your rebate. So you can do that, figure out how much you save, wait your year or prorated year and see what it is and multiply it out and get your money. Or if you're not sure you want to do that because you don't want to kind of take the risk of it being lower, you can do a guaranteed. Basically, you calculate it, ComEd calculates it and says, yep, that's how much it's worth, or they adjust it, and you're going to get 6 cents per kilowatt hour for doing this project. If you really save less than that, that's fine. We're still going to give you the 6 cents. But if you really save more than that, that's fine. We're still only going to give you the 6 cents. So you can get a guaranteed 6 cents, or you can kind of let it ride and see what it really is and get the 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Your choice. Paybacks have to be between 1 and 7 years. And you can get a rebate up to the total cost of the system if it actually calculates out that much. All right, I got about 5 or 10 more minutes of stuff I'm going to share with you guys, and then I'm gonna cut you guys loose. I know there's still several of you that are on here, which is fantastic. That's awesome. Let me just explain a few more things about Illinois and a couple neighboring states, and then we'll be kind of wrapped up here. So in regards to Illinois, just checking to see if I had any more questions at the moment. The way the Illinois programs work, the major utilities have to participate, so that's ComEd, Nicor, Peoples, North Shore, and Ameren. Smaller ones like Naperville or something like that, they don't have to do this program. But what they do is that all the money those utilities collect on the program, they take 25% of that money and they hand it over to the State Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and they run a utility rebate program for public buildings. Public buildings are village halls, schools, libraries, these kind of facilities. So if it's a private building, like a bank or your office building, that would be the utility that's administering the program. If it's a public government-owned building, basically a building that's funded by taxes, then they would be applying for the same kind of rebates from DCEO. So the funding still comes from the utility bill. They still pay into the funding, but the money gets set aside. 25% of it gets set aside for public use to kind of guarantee that it's there, because public sector buildings have a longer financial cycle to get projects approved. So this is some of the rebates on that program. I'm not going to read through every one of them because I don't think many of you guys are working in the public sector currently. But the rebates, generally speaking, are higher than they are going to the regular utility programs. And that is because these rebates, it's easier for a private building to get some funding than it is for a government-owned building, because the only way for the government to get building is to either raise your taxes or issue bonds. So it's harder for them to fund projects, so the rebates are more attractive to get them to actually do it. They do still have a split system and rooftop program available. The other utilities have all dropped it, but the state program still has it, and it's really attractive. It's $100 a ton. So if you put in a high-efficiency rooftop or split system, $100 per ton. Water-cooled chillers are either $33 or $66 per ton, depending on how efficient they are, based on that chart on the bottom, which works very similar to the ComEd chart. But instead of having a calculatable bonus, they just have it busted up into 2 tiers. On the air-cooled side of the equation, it's either $50 or $100 per ton, depending on how efficient you are. There's room units, there's PTAC units, depending on how efficient you are. Once again, click on this. There are gas rebates from the utility. These are currently higher than normal because the gas program is fairly new, so they're trying to get awareness out about it. So they've increased the rebates up substantially. So furnaces are, based on the size of the furnace, are anywhere from $10 to $14 for every 1,000 BTUs. So if you put in a 100,000 BTU furnace and it was 95% efficient, you would get a $1,200 rebate in your commercial building. Boilers, similar. It's either for condensing boilers, which are what you probably want to use. For the larger ones, 1 million BTUs and up, it's $8 for every 1,000 BTUs. For the little guys under 1 million, it's $14 for every 1,000 BTUs. That's pretty attractive. You only got to be 90% efficient. They got condensing unit heaters, got infrared heaters, $850 per unit. There are rebates to do tune-ups on systems. It's based on square footage. There are rebates for ground source heat pumps, which you didn't really see much of on the other utilities because they're playing that whole gas versus electric game, whereas the state doesn't really care if it's gas or electric, so they have it on their program, so you could get a heat pump rebate, and they chose to market theirs towards geothermal heat pumps. There are VFD rebates, $92 per horsepower, whereas the ComEd was $60, so that's kind of showing you some of the difference on the state program being much higher for public buildings. There's a tire program for boiler tune-ups. There's the website if you want to go to that. There are custom rebates, which are very attractive. It's 12 cents per kilowatt hour versus 7 cents for ComEd, and it's $3 per therm versus $1 a therm for most of the gas utilities. That $3 at the end of May is going to go back down to the original $1.50. So if you're doing public work and they have natural gas savings products going on, this is the year to do it because the rebates literally doubled. There are also several bonuses in place currently. You can see them at the top of this page. If you complete a project by Halloween, you can get a 10% bonus on top of any of the rebates I just mentioned from DCEO. And if you do it by Valentine's Day, it's a 5% bonus. They must like holidays over there or something. There is a program called CDEC, Smart Energy Design Assistance Center, which is in conjunction with University of Illinois, my alma mater, thank you. They do a lot of project-related stuff in conjunction with DCEO for public sector buildings, like retro commissioning and things like that. They also do energy audits for those buildings, and you can do those for both public or private sector buildings. So if you got a customer that needs to have an energy audit done, they can get either a free or low-cost energy audit done through their utility or through CDEC. In most cases, these end up being free type things for the energy audits. Retro commissioning is typically an investment-related thing they need to do. Out in Indiana, the gas and electric utilities have rebates as well. Nipsco, they got rebates for high-efficiency boilers and boiler tune-ups, just like the other utilities had. Outside air reset controls on boilers, modulating burners, rebates on furnaces used commercially, infrared heaters, steam traps, programmable stats, demand control ventilation, 15 cents per square foot, a little bit low, but they actually started doing it before Illinois, so they're a little bit ahead of the curve there. Rooftop or furnace tune-ups on the commercial side. On the electric side in Indiana, there are rebates for rooftops and split systems. By the way, unitary on these programs is what you would call a rooftop unit for most of you guys out there. It's anywhere from $30 to $50 per ton, depending on the efficiency and whether it's a regular AC or a heat pump. Water-cooled chillers, $30 per ton. The efficiency levels vary depending on what type of compressor and tonnage it is. And you do have to hit a full load efficiency and a part load efficiency to get that. And then VFDs are $40 per horsepower. Custom rebates, for the gas side, 60 cents per therm. Electric is 9 cents per therm. They also have a new construction program, which works similar to the custom rebate program. Basically, you're energy modeling your building and comparing what it would be versus the regular code. So that program's out there. By the way, Illinois does have a new construction program as well. It's just not something that's written out. It's negotiated on a building-by-building basis. If you need help with that, let me know. I'll get you in touch with the right guy. If you're up in Michigan, I don't think anyone on this call is from Michigan, so I'm not even going to read this right now. I'm just going to skip right through it. But efficiencyunited.com would be the website for all of the gas and electric utilities in Michigan. All the same kind of stuff, demand control, ventilation, infrared, chillers, water heaters, boilers, furnaces, etc. Heat pumps, all the same kind of stuff. VFDs, etc. Custom rebates as well. Wisconsin, nobody on this call I think is still from Wisconsin, so I'm going to skip through that one as well. Same kind of program. It's all run for this entire state, just like Michigan. FocusOnEnergy.com. Rebates for boilers, furnaces, unit heaters, infrared heaters. There is one for DX cooling, so rooftops or split systems. There's one that's fairly unique for Wisconsin that they started piloting this past winter, which is the RTO program, Rooftop Optimization. Basically, you're doing a tune-up on the rooftop unit, and then in conjunction with that tune-up, you can also do some advanced measures, like you can install a programmable thermostat, and there's different tiers to that, a regular programmable stat, or one that also closes the outside air damper at nighttime. Economizers you can add on as part of that, or demand control ventilation. There's some extra little tweaks on that little pilot program. Chiller rebates in Wisconsin, you got to hit both full load and part load, just like you have to do in some states. And there's other stuff that they have that's a little more unique, that's not everyday stuff, like an ERV. They're the only state in the Midwest that has an ERV prescriptive rebate. Everybody else makes you do it custom. It's 75 cents per CFM of outside air, which is actually a pretty good deal. CO2 is 20 cents. VFDs are on here, chiller tune-ups, rooftop tune-ups, steam, all that same kind of stuff. If you're in Milwaukee proper, you get the Focus on Energy rebate plus the Milwaukee ME2 program, just like the residential folks do, where they give you a bigger rebate beyond just what the Focus program would have done. Racine has a similar program to that. So if you're in Racine or Milwaukee, check out these websites. Milwaukee is smartenergypays.com. Racine, if you guys are in Illinois and hop up over the border, you might do some Racine work. cityofracine.org/RE2. Check that one out. Missouri, same kind of thing. I know we got a Kansas City office, but I don't think anybody on this webinar is from Kansas City, so we can kind of skip that. But Missouri does have rebates. Kansas City Power in Missouri has rebates. Kansas City Power in Kansas does not. And there's a bunch of other stuff beyond what I talked about. I kind of try to focus on the HVAC normal everyday stuff, but there's all kinds of other stuff related to new construction, refrigeration, lighting, data centers, schools, agriculture in Wisconsin, things like that, low-income projects. So lots of programs that are out there. I'm just touching on 10% of them, if you will. Don't know if anybody has any other questions. Let me see. You guys are a pretty quiet, tame group. I'm going to keep this open for a couple minutes. If you got any more questions, just type them in the question chat box there, and I'll do my best to answer them.